Welcome to the Bay Insider with Amanda and Ying, where we talk about history, lifestyle, and real estate in the San Francisco Bay Area. Sausalito, more than just a picturesque town on the bay, it's a launch pad for extraordinary lives and unique stories. Journey with us through 3 captivating episodes. First, meet Cyril Deramo, a Sausalito-based citizen of the world who takes on the vast oceans in his solo kayak. Then discover the enchanting world of Lisa Snyder and the historic floating home community. And finally, join us as we explore the vibrant heart of Sausalito, uncovering local haunts and favorite spots that reflect the spirit of this unique coastal community. Welcome back to the Bay Insider. This is our 3rd and final episode on Sausalito. So in our series where we had Cyril to start with, and then Lisa Snyder on the floating homes. And today we have my good friend from a very long time ago, Chris Ornellas, who has lived in Sausalito for the last, how many years?
21 years.
21 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking it was like 15 for some reason. 21 years. And of course, Ying is with us as well. You, Chris, are a 5th generation Californian, is that right?
The earlier days of settlers. I think they came in 1829 up in Crescent City, and then they moved down to Oakland and Berkeley.
That's as early as I ever heard.
Yeah.
1829.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm a 4th generation,
Right, but
San Franciscan.
that's right.
And then so to Berkeley and Oakland, so East Bay, and what were you telling me about your great-grandfather?
Yeah, so my great-grandfather was my only claim to fame.
Ride those coattails.
Yeah. So he was the first graduating class at UC Berkeley. Then there was no other UC school, but there were 12 people that graduated. It was the first ones that finished the full 4-year program.
Which year was it?
1873.
Wow.
Okay.
I had to look that up.
That was a while ago.
12. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they called him the 12 Apostles. So it was only
really?
12 guys. Yeah, and he was one of the 12, and I think he was probably the guy who became more religious than the other 11. So
the Apostles was appropriate.
What was his major?
geology. He was a geologist and did surveying in Colorado. And
Okay.
Makes sense.
back in those days, they knew all the famous people, like the John Muirs. And
Oh, wow.
yes.
That's very cool. Yeah, I was wondering if there were 12 of them, like, were they all in the same type of study?
Yeah, that's what I was
I think
thinking.
they
Like,
had
how do you do?
different backgrounds, but I think back then they probably studied a little bit of everything.
Right.
Sure.
And
Right.
maybe the general ed, but they also specialized. I think they all went different ways. One guy became a governor, California.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, you could look up the list and see who all those guys are. And I'm sure that's an interesting group of fellows. I'm sure they were all
They were all fellows.
Oh, all men, right?
No chance to go to schools back then.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, back then. And then speaking of fellows versus females, you were saying your grandmother, is this your great-grandfather's daughter?
Yeah,
or-
exactly. So he had 10 children. She was the youngest of 10.
Wow,
I
10.
think it was a survival thing. So she was the youngest of 10, and she later became a nurse, but she was during World War II was a Rosie the Riveter, if you're familiar with that, where
Mhm.
the sort of the women power, but they backfilled the jobs from the men that worked in factories or the shipbuilding during World War II.
Right, which is interesting because it's something that people couldn't even imagine that women were capable of doing those types of things. And then out of necessity, they filled in those jobs and did a very good job, is my understanding.
Absolutely.
And then I know you through working at Advent Software, which
That's
we were working there, 2000. Yeah, you were living in San Francisco.
I lived in the city
In
too, yeah.
North
Lived in-
Beach or?
Then I lived in Russian Hill,
Okay,
and then later when I got married, then I lived in North Beach
okay.
before I came here.
And so Sausalito, if we go way back in time, do you want to talk a little bit about the history, Ying? Tell us.
Sure. Sausalito is a Spanish word. So I checked it out. It means small willow grove. So just in case you want to know.
So is that like the weeping willow, like the willow tree?
I assume that, but
Okay.
I don't know. Do you know?
What do you know about the willows of Sausalito?
Yeah.
I don't see anything.
I don't know that word. I know Spanish, but I didn't really know the word Sausalito. Just
Yeah.
the ito means small, but so Sausalito, I don't know.
Yeah.
Small willow grove. You know, we come here all the time. It's a small city. So it's in Marin County. It's right north of the Golden Gate Bridge. We drive through all the time. It's such a beautiful drive to come over here. So I can see why you want to live here. I love San Francisco. But leaving San Francisco, coming to Sausalito is going on a little mini vacation. It's a small town. It's a population 7,200-ish. In my mind, it's vacation town or touristy place.
It is very touristy. I think it's also a lot of retirees, right? Wouldn't you say?
I'd say kind of mixed. I mean, working age and retired.
Yeah. Not a ton of like young families.
Not a lot of young families. No.
Yeah.
No.
From selling real estate here and seeing the demographic of the people who come through, it's also amazing how many people just own second homes here.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of that, especially up in the hills where you have the
Beautiful
really
view.
incredible, like spot on view looking at, like I sold 61 to 65 San Carlos, which was basically a big, huge, beautiful house with a little kind of in-law apartment underneath.
That.
And it had this huge covered porch that just looked
It's a
dead
sweeping
on
view of the bay.
Yeah, to Angel Island. But yeah, there was a lot of people looking at that.
I would say most people want to live here because of view, right? And how charming the place is.
And proximity to San Francisco. So I think
Correct.
people who work in San Francisco, but they don't want to be in the buzz of San Francisco, they want to have.
Yeah, I think for me, when we were living in the city, coming to Sausalito, you think it's so far away, but it's just literally the bridge. And it's most of the time you don't actually have traffic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big secret. But, from Marin going into the city, or from Marin, but from Sausalito specifically, you just go across the bridge. When you get to the city, of course, you're going to hit traffic depending on where you go. And then coming this way, when you come across the bridge going north, you get through Sausalito without the traffic, and then right afterwards,
Strawberry.
Yeah, right around Strawberry. Then it almost always, 3-4 o'clock, it kicks in. But yeah, you get to avoid traffic, and you can get into the city pretty quickly. So
the only drawback is the cost of the bridge.
That is true.
Ever
it
growing.
goes up all the time.
But just imagine airplane ticket. To get a view like this, to get to a place like this, it costs a lot to fly. This is like, for me, 15-minute drive.
You have similar weather to the city. I'd say a little bit warmer.
It's warmer.
You have less fog. In summer, as June, July, August, you tend to get more fog, which I like the
and it's beautiful.
fog, actually.
It's beautiful when it's foggy, actually. It's just amazing.
And you have the different pockets. Like, for instance, the place that I sold up there in San Carlos, that was in what's called the Banana Belt.
Yeah.
And that's just like a strip of area here that's just almost always sunny, no matter what it's like.
And the north of Sausalito is the same.
Yeah.
You can see a big wall of fog coming in, and then it's sunny and clear around you. You get the cool.
Yeah, and then right around the corner from there is Hurricane
Gulch.
Hurricane Gulch, and it's aptly named. It's like a wind tunnel like you have never experienced if you haven't been there.
They have nice views, but the weather can be pretty rough.
Really rough. Really rough. Yeah.
But it's really just a short drive away from San Francisco, which we're going to cover a little bit about history, but how far it was actually at one point in time, before the bridge, before the highway, before all that. I was going to say that I cannot count the number of times that I would drive through Golden Gate Bridge in the morning. I come here for early morning paddles, and it was completely cold and foggy and just miserable. And the moment after the bridge, all of a sudden you see sun and the blue sky and the ocean. It's nothing like this. Nothing like this.
It's funny when you sit sometimes right in the middle of the bridge. You're
you can't see,
and then it opens up and
it's like
warmth.
I can breathe. Yes. So Sausalito, geographically, like we said, it's right north of San Francisco. On the right-hand side, it's Richardson Bay. And then on the left side, that's Marine Headlands.
The headland's so beautiful.
So beautiful, right?
Because you get up there and I think you have the best views of course, the Golden Gate Bridge because you're right above it. You get great views of the city and all of the bay. You can see Oakland and Alcatraz. And then you have to the other side, you look and you've got the ocean. So,
it's just lovely, lovely place.
Yeah, and as far as the geography, Sausalito is so hilly, right? It's just steep everywhere, like a big bowl. And so there's so many views.
$1 million views everywhere. And then north of Sausalito is Marine City and Tiburon area, basically. Also with great views. Back in history, So Sausalito was one side of the Coast Miwok settlement. That's a branch called Human for Sausalito area. And the Richardson Bay was named after this gentleman whose name is William Richardson. He was an English-born Mexican citizen. He joined Mexican citizenship because Mexico was in charge back then. But that's why this bay is named Richardson Bay after him. So he was a person developed.
And he
area.
was 1795 to 1856. So he died before like bigger development actually took place here. So it's more like just establishing the area, I guess.
Absolutely. Back then, it was a fishing village. So there are two types of people here. Either the very poor fishermen who had boats or very wealthy people who had boats and nobody else. So back in the days, for people to come to Sausalito was over 100 miles on land. So that's where I needed your help to understand.
On land?
Yeah,
how did they get here?
How they get? If they didn't have boats, it would be over 100 miles from San Francisco. So how did they get here?
Well, I would think they mostly got here on boats.
Right, but if they didn't, they had to go very far. So what's a route?
Vallejo, right?
You go up to the north part of the bay where it goes in towards, I guess Vallejo would be the first part. Yeah, Vallejo and Benicia Vallejo.
But it's amazing, right? It's like 3 miles, but it become 100 miles because there was no bridge, no highway.
Before they had the bridge, they had the car ferries too.
Right. So we're going to get to that in a little bit. So we started with little boats because that's all they had. Sure. And our 100-mile carriage ride all the way through Vallejo, now you told me. After that, they start having the ferry from the city to here, car ferries, which makes perfect sense, right? You get cars here and people here. But that's also before the bridge.
Yeah.
And the highway.
And after they had cars. 1922 to 1941.
So the ferry was a very important part of Sausalito back then. The ferry changed once 101 was built, right? Because since 101 or the Golden Gate Bridge was built, people started using the bridge and highway. The car ferry become regular ferry, which is still running today.
Yeah, we still don't. I always find it really interesting that there really are no car ferries in the Bay Area. Like you go up to Seattle, and you go into all these other kind of areas that have similar setups or islands or land masses that you access on car, but not here.
Why do you think that's the case? I don't know.
I guess just because the bridges are such easy access.
Yeah, because in Seattle are just the small islands there where they don't have other ways to get in, or it's too circuitous to get back to the bridge, or
I think so. And I think because there are so many people that live out on these different islands and have to commute and go, it just works out better to have a lot of people taking the car ferry.
Where would you take it to, though? You take to downtown San Francisco?
I mean, I guess you don't want people bringing their cars in that way.
Right,
anyway,
you see what I'm saying?
Like, to get more cars.
Right, location-wise doesn't make sense, right? For us, at least. So May of 1937 is opening of the Golden Gate Bridge. That completely changed everything for Sausalito.
Which is such a beautiful bridge. We all know that. And what a feat of construction. I mean, there's no way we could do that today.
Sausalito changed after World War II because it was very industrial during that time. The shipyards and lots of people are building ships.
Ships and munitions and all kinds of things that have to,
Okay. Just anyway, to support the war, I guess, any weapons and equipment. So after that, everything changed. And that's the start of all the boathouse or floating homes.
The floating homes
community as well. That's the time the entire area has started to change. We just finished episode about floating homes. Then you will hear the stories about the floating homes versus houseboats and
what it's like to live in that community.
Exactly. Very, very interesting community.
I do think one thing you forgot to mention in your timeline here is the bootlegging and the rum-runners, because I thought that was interesting, right?
I didn't know what that meant. So
during Prohibition, Prohibition is, right? When you couldn't drink alcohol. Openly. Yeah. So I guess, So basically, because it was facing the Golden Gate, isolated from San Francisco, but on the same waterway, it was a great landing spot for the rum runners. And I guess there's the 1942 film China Girl
That's the one with that Sally lady.
The Sally Stanfords, right?
Oh yeah.
The Valhalla restaurant on the waterfront, which apparently was also a brothel, I guess. So bootlegging, which is obviously illegally transporting and selling alcohol.
Was it rum or was it all different types of alcohol?
Well, they called it rum-runners, but maybe that was like a catch-all.
Moonshine and everything else.
But which makes me want to take a quick step back when you're mentioning. So you live in Spain part of the year, is that correct?
We go once a year just for 3 weeks or a month. So we go to Barcelona, but then there's a little beach town called Sitges.
I was going to say that's my favorite place.
Oh yeah?
Oh really?
Sitges?
I've been to Sitges.
Wow.
That's really my favorite place.
It's fun because for me it's a little parallel of Sausalito. It's a beach town. It has a promenade that goes for about 2.5 miles, and it's a nice little spot. And then from Barcelona, you hop on the little train, and it's 30 minutes away, so it's convenient drive too.
Okay, back to Valhalla. Where are we?
History. Anything we didn't cover in history?
I mean, there's so many things I'm sure in history. So the 1960s is when the 3 houseboat communities started up, and there were all kinds of drama and excitement, alternative lifestyles and stuff, which you can listen to our last episode to find out more about that. We won't go on about it too much. But then that brings us to kind of, Ying and I have a connection to Sausalito, by living in San Francisco, but more so through SeaTrek, which is
a great place.
Such a great organization. And it's run by Galen, who his father started it, 40 years ago or something?
Long time ago.
Yeah, something like that. 40 years, yeah. And I got introduced, it must be 2 years ago now, to SeaTrek from Ying. And she took me out one day and I immediately fell in love with it. Because it's just, there's nothing like going out on the water. It's a completely different perspective. Like living in the city and now in Marin, for all these years, you still never get that perspective of being on the water, looking at the land. Yeah, it's just you and the water, and it's
tranquil. Yeah,
it's completely right.
It's the greatest thing, right? You're cruising along, and then you get to see the seals.
Yeah, the seals. There's lots of seals out there.
Do you do any water sports?
I do that occasionally.
Okay.
But I didn't know you could be a member.
The membership,
yeah. That, I thought, okay, that's a really good idea.
That's the best. That's the best. Being a member is the best.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to store a big kayak in your garage, and if my wife wants to go, it's 2 of them. If the kid wanted to go, then you didn't have room for all.
4 of them, and your whole garage is taken up with kayaks.
And you won't go as many times because too much pain.
Yeah, exactly.
Just put it on the car. Yeah, so that's one of the other great things is, first of all, they're wonderful people, and they do all kinds of great camps for kids, and they have different programs and educational programs, things where you can go to Baja, trips around Angel Island. They have the regatta every year, which is the race. That's really fun. The yearly membership, it's reasonable. Let's just put it that way. It's reasonable. And for the price of the membership, you can go there whenever they are open. Yeah. And you just tell them whether you want a paddleboard, a kayak. There's all kinds of different things to choose from. They put it out for you. You can borrow wetsuit. You can borrow windbreaker jackets, whatever you want. And then afterwards, they put it away for you when you're done. It's just very hassle-free.
And there are also so many classes you can take. Mm-hmm. You say you want to learn how to do stand-up paddleboard, take a class. You want to do kayak, take a class. There are a lot of trips, day trips, moonlight paddle, so many events you can join. It's just a whole lot of fun. Last year, I went to Amalfi Coast. I was like, that's the most beautiful place in this world. Let me go paddleboard there. Say Sausalito is far, far, far better than Amalfi Coast as far as paddleboarding is concerned.
Why?
You know how we paddle a lot in Richardson Bay?
Yes.
It's very protected.
Yes, that's true.
Even though if you have wind, it's generally manageable kind of wind. Yeah. In Amalfi Coast, you
don't know where you'll end up.
I thought I was going to die.
But it wasn't the natural beauty of it that was so much better here. There is so much natural beauty.
It's not suitable for paddleboarding.
Okay, got it.
That's what I was going to say. Kayak, maybe, because you really don't care how deep that is. Yeah. I also tried in Mexico, Cabo. I also said I was going to do stand-up paddleboarding, in Cabo. That didn't work either. So I will keep on trying. I'll report back. But so far, Sausalito is by far the best.
Yeah, I did that paddleboarding in Kauai along this whole river. It's a totally different experience.
Really nice, right?
It was pretty gorgeous. But yeah, There's not much that can beat this
No.
little inlet that they have. Are you familiar with the Matthew Turner Call of the Wild?
The
Organization.
boat.
Yeah, they made that boat.
Beautiful.
They built
it's
that.
A beautiful
Really?
boat.
Yeah, they built that here.
I think they just used it in a race last week.
Yeah, and they do a lot of like free things
Charity,
for charity
right? Yeah.
events and educational things, and they're a great organization.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's very much of a boating culture in Sausalito. I think a lot of people are connected to the water in one way or another.
Yeah, even the other ones that are just lazy and like to look at the water.
That's right.
There is something mesmerizing about looking at the
Yeah,
bay.
the ships.
It is so beautiful. I mean,
Yeah, and then they have the sailing school, and they have all kinds of cool stuff. Events is one thing when I was looking online, because I was looking about the Sausalito Art Festival, which I used to love, and it was such a great event, which apparently is no longer, unfortunately. But it did look like there were a lot of events that happen over here still.
Do you participate much?
Go to any of these events that they have over here?
The Halloween ones, which are a lot of fun, and then they have the boat parade. It's so cool. So we either go right downtown, or we would go to Sausalito's or somewhere and get up by the water and watch all these boats. And they really,
and that's in December, the lighted boat parade.
Yeah, usually
fireworks.
A little firework show afterwards.
I was going to just add more. Halloween, we do Halloween paddle, costume, costume Halloween paddle, and we will throw candies to people on the shore.
Oh, fun.
That was fun.
Yeah, and then they have the farmers market at Dunphy Park every Sunday, so that's nice. Have you ever been to the Biscotti and Cars Classic Car event?
No.
Apparently it draws car enthusiasts from all over Northern California.
Is that right on Bridgeway?
Apparently it's the first Saturday of every month, all year round. I have a link I'll put in the notes, because I don't know exactly where it is.
Because there used to be one right near Taste of Rome.
Okay.
But I think that they've moved the location, because you used to be able to see these classic cars right through the window.
Did you hear about the Sausalito Super Bowl party? SOUP Super Bowl.
Apparently wasn't invited.
Yeah, they did. Well, they did it apparently like the day before the other Super Bowl.
Oh.
And several blocks in the city there's like 15 different places participating.
Different types of soup?
Soup, yeah.
Oh,
and you would go from one to the next and get soup.
Kind of like the chili cook-off that they things like that. That's fun.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool. And they have a crab festival, herring festival.
What is a herring festival?
I don't know. I guess you celebrate the herrings in March. Maybe you eat herring. Maybe there's different restaurants. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not
Swedish
a huge...
people like that.
Yes.
Scandinavians.
And then they have spring citywide yard sale. Easter parade and egg hunt. Like, I think for holidays and stuff, there's always like something that's going on. Yeah, and 4th of July, definitely they have like fireworks and boat related things. I used to come out here with my dad 4th of July, and we'd go out on the boat and watch the fireworks from out there. It really is.
It is.
They're like,
Do the Sausalito or San Francisco fireworks?
I did both. I've done both. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It used to be where it was always foggy.
Yeah.
Just when the fireworks started.
Always.
Pretty much count on that.
Yeah.
And then they have Toast of Sausalito, Beer, Wine, and Spirits Festival. Have you been to that? No? October. It's coming up October 18th, 20. There's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do. And then the other thing.
Fleet Week. I was going to say.
Fleet Week, yeah.
Fleet Week will be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fleet Week is great, because from here you can, even if you're downtown Sausalito, you can watch a fair amount. Of course, you get the best view, right, in San Francisco, at the field there. But from Sausalito, you can also go, there's a couple places, Fort Baker, back in Cavallo Point, that area. Yeah. There's a little place up, kind of a hidden spot. We went there this last year, and it was great, because you see everything right in front of you.
They come over here, right?
They fly over here. But when you're at that spot, you can see, you're right in between San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge. So you've got the perfect view without having to be in the city. And instead of having 10,000 people next to you, you've
fighting
got
all the
120. So
that's
a little bit of perspective. It's always fun. And another perk I just thought about too is all Sausalito residents get what's called a smart card, and that allows you to park in the downtown parking lots for free for 3 hours.
And that's such a great point to make, because one of the things, if you were going to consider a drawback of living in Sausalito, especially the downtown areas, it is very much a tourist area, especially during high times in summer. And there's people, yes, coming in through the ferry, but also coming and parking in the parking lots and all of those kinds of things. And so they do charge a lot of money because that's how they make their money, right? Is from the tourism. So as a local, being able to take advantage of that 3 hours of free parking is pretty cool. Yeah, and for all you tourists who are coming to Sausalito, another great way to get over here is by taking your bicycle over the Golden Gate Bridge, which is always iconic way to go.
Blazing Saddles. They come here, so they have a really good setup that they ride their bike and then they go to Joinery. And everyone's all enthusiastic as they're going across the bridge. They go to the Joinery and they have their chicken sandwich and a beer. And then they get a little tired and lethargic, and they'll let them take the bike back so that they can take the ferry back to the city.
Nice.
Yeah, that is a cool option to have. One of the things that a lot of the tourists do is they head right over to Lapper's ice cream, right?
Get some lovely ice cream and walk around and look at all the shops.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're in Hawaii.
Yeah. That's right. It is a Hawaiian company.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, delicious ice cream. And then, so I personally, I've spent a lot of time in Sausalito, but I haven't spent a ton of time like at the shops or restaurant. But I'd love to hear of some of your favorites.
Okay. With me, I like to shop, and especially in restaurants, like to go more local and support the local restaurant. And there aren't any big chains in Sausalito. So,
right.
No, not. Yeah.
I think a lot of them ends that way. And, for me on the north side, for instance, of Sausalito, you've got Avatars, which he calls it Marindian, which is Indian food.
Marindian, I can see that, yeah.
It's a great, Indian it's actually kind of blended with Mexican style. So I get the eggplant enchilada. It sounds really weird, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
With the mango lassi.
Okay.
But the owner's a wonderful guy, too.
Yeah.
He is. I mean, he's a lovely person. And then you've got Tommy's Walk there. If you like Chinese food, it's always great, fresh Chinese food. And then one of my favorite spots is Caledonia. People always know Bridgeway is the main street in Sausalito, but in Caledonia is the little parallel street, and you have...
That's my favorite part of Sausalito for like downtown, because the other Bridgeway area is a little more touristy feeling.
Yeah, when you go south of Caledonia, then the tourists usually stop right around there. And then they think, I guess let's go back to the ferry. Yeah. And so in Caledonia, you don't have too many tourists. Yeah, you've got two sushi restaurants. One's, it's a good restaurant and it's more moderate price. And then Sushi Ron is super, it's pricey.
What's the other one called? Do you know?
Sweet Ginger.
Sweet Ginger, yeah.
Okay, so Sweet Ginger and Sushi Ron, both really great.
Yeah, very different. Sweet Ginger is very low key.
Yeah.
And
not as expensive.
No, not nearly as expensive.
Okay.
And then Sandrino's is my favorite spot. It's a little Italian restaurant, and it's tiny. I think the brick oven is about as big as the seating in the inside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a wonderful couple from northern Italy, Sandro and Monica, and they're amazing people too. You want to get pizza, and pasta. But I always get pizza. I always get the Quattro Stagioni, which is just the Four Seasons pizza. It's amazing.
Okay.
It's so good. It's a local community feel too. So they, in their way of giving back to the people, they have photos of people that frequent there.
Oh yeah, the regulars.
Yeah, and so when you look, you get the rate. We've got our.
Oh,
that's good.
Yeah, but it's a great place, and actually the wife Monica, she's in Italy in the special chef training program. She's been there for this past year.
Oh, really?
Getting a higher level certification. And when she comes back, they're going to, the adjoining building is ending their lease, so they're going to expand.
Oh, and then she'll have new exciting things to bring back to the people.
Crazy new, amazing stuff.
Do you know when that's happening?
So probably the beginning of next year, I imagine, because they'll have to renovate the other part.
Okay.
But my understanding is they're going to have that part will be all of the new amazing pasta stuff, and then this side will keep the pizza. They'll make it all one.
Well, that's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
To go check that out.
Sandrino.
They've been around for a while, yeah?
I'd say 8 years is my guess.
Okay.
8 to 10 years. I'm not exactly sure.
That looks delicious. I'm just looking at their pizza on the website. It looks really good.
If you like, especially like the thin crust, that's a real local.
Well, that's exciting. All right.
So I was introduced to this new place yesterday, Panjo, and I'm sure
Pojo. Yeah.
Pojo's.
So what do you think of that?
Pojo's also, it's a great restaurant. It's a little more, I want to say expensive, but it's a little more
touristy.
It's touristy. And because of course you have the hotel above, and so a lot of times the people just come downstairs to eat. The food's always amazing there, in my opinion. If you have kids, you can just get a pizza, and then that's not expensive.
It has nice little outdoor seating.
Yeah, it's a great ambiance. It's a really nice place. And then you have, then across from there, you've got all the waterfront places.
That's nice.
Like the Barrel House and all the typical ones that have been there.
Yeah, the Joinery is, they have a falafel there that I love so good. Not salad, the wrap.
Oh, the falafel?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the Joinery too, because I think that's one of the classic places we always go back to, especially having the teenage boys now that are ending their teenage years. But the fried chicken sandwich. I don't even like fried chicken too much, but I get the fried chicken sandwich every time. It's amazing.
Really?
Yeah,
My son loves fried chicken so much. I'll have to get him that.
If he has it once, then you won't want to go somewhere else. You go there, and if you want, you talked about a salad. They have a kale Caesar salad. So for me not to be too much of a pig by eating just this, because the chicken sandwich is big too. Yeah. And so my wife will say, "Well, no, we'll get a half." Yeah. And then we'll get the kale Caesar salad. We'll split it.
That makes sense.
But it's really good too.
So you got to keep your health going somehow.
Yeah.
Barbochi. Is that how you say it?
Barbochi. Yeah, they do a lot of pizza and stuff, and it's also a great spot right on the water.
You can paddle up to it with your paddle board and have lunch and then paddle on off.
That's right. You have a little place right next to it. Yeah, because you have Joinery, Sausalito's, and Barbochi all next to each other.
And the Trident, I was inside there one day. The view is just...
That's the one that's over the water, right?
Yeah. We paddle by it all the time. But the view is just amazing.
Yeah, and skomas, of course.
Yeah, classic skoma's been there forever. If you want the classic style, everything's fresh and delicious. Not super fancy, not fancy food style.
Yeah.
Good classic style.
And fish is one of the ones, and that's further north. Fish.
Oh, fish, yeah, the restaurant Fish, yeah.
They've been around for a while now, but I remember when they first opened, I started going there, and then I fell in love with it. It's kind of pricey, but, for food you're grabbing and taking to a picnic table. But it is really good, really fresh, and
they get it every morning. I think they get it themselves. Yeah, they come in at 5 a.m. or something.
They only do like particular types of fish.
Whatever they have fresh. Yeah, that's right.
Get a little rosé, sit out on the deck. It's good.
Yeah, it's a perfect little spot too, outdoors.
Lots of seafood. That's what.
Well, yeah, I mean that's apropos for sure. The area. Is there anything else restaurant-wise that you? I mean, then there's coffee shops, of course, right? You've got Equator Coffee.
Equator, and across the street, a half a block up from there, is also a Taste of Rome.
Yeah.
Which
it's a very local hangout, right?
It's a local, so you get a lot of people that some of the anchor outs. I don't know if that's the proper term or whatever.
It is.
The anchor outs, and then you get a really eclectic mix of people in there. I always go in and get a big cappuccino. And it's my favorite cappuccino. It's so good. And, they have breakfasts and lunches, but we usually do more for breakfast.
Yeah.
They have pizza and everything, desserts and all that stuff. But that's a great local spot.
So, Chris, you had mentioned something about every Friday.
Yeah. So starting either Memorial Day or in this case, this weekend, beginning of June, that every Friday until I think Labor Day, they have a free jazz and blues festival downtown Sausalito by the ferry. So there's a little patch of grass. When you're riding your bike there, you think it's around here somewhere. And the patch looks really small, but when you're there, it's filled with people. They have live music, and they have little stands where they sell hot dogs, and beers, and wine. And
that's every Friday from like the first weekend of June through Labor Day?
Yep.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun. So a lot of people go out there and hang out right by the water. And
it's fun, free entertainment. Yeah. And if you're in San Francisco, just take the ferry over, check it out, take the ferry home. Very nice. So I just wanted to talk about the stairways in Sausalito real quick. Sure. Just this past week, I actually bought this book, Sausalito's Secret Stairways by John Redehoft. If I'm mispronouncing his name, I'm sorry, but I will put it in the notes with a link. And I think he just self-published this book like this month or something. It's very new. But it has a number, maybe 12 stairway walks within Sausalito. And I was looking for this because I myself had gone just wandering around Sausalito because I think there's more than even what's in this book. But it is a really good kind of guide to some of those staircases because it is a very vertical town, especially towards the downtown area. So if you're living way up in the hills, you don't necessarily have to walk down the circuitous streets. You can just take a number of stairways to get down. And if you're
You get your
exploring,
steps in.
you can definitely get your steps in. I mean, in terms of like parks, you've got so many different little park areas along the waterfront, and then the MLK gym area. There's a park there, right?
That's right. They redid that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it's nice because it was just a big grass patch. And actually, they had a track around there, but no one used it. And then now they put a path all the way around, and so all day long, you get people walking their dogs, and it's helped socialize the neighborhood more.
That's great. Yeah, and then that gymnasium that's there, my son was really into ping pong for a while, and so I was like going all over the North Bay trying to find places for him to play ping pong. So we went there and he got like lessons from a guy. I mean, they're very, very serious there. It was like the ping pong Olympics in there. They know what they're doing. It's interesting. But yeah, the park there is really nice.
So what do you like most about living in Sausalito?
For me, it's a combination of things. One, of course, the weather's amazing. It's pretty fair year-round, so you always have to have a light jacket with you just in case, but it's never that hot. Like, I think right now it's about as hot as it ever gets.
It's lovely.
And
it's maybe about 74 degrees.
Yeah, you hit the low 80s maybe a week out of the year, and people are going, oh, God, it's so hot. But I think the coziness of the little town, the eclectic nature of it, the fact that it's so close to the city is a really big draw as well. My wife being from a city couldn't go too far away. So when we moved from San Francisco, she wouldn't see anything out further than Sausalito.
Right.
I go, what about Mill Valley or Larkspur, Tiburon, or any,
too far.
Like Novato was too far for her, even San Rafael.
Too hot.
Yeah, they get a different climate there for sure. It gets a lot hotter, and in the winter it gets a little colder too. We're moderated by the bay, so it never gets that hot. But yeah, I think, it is eclectic that you get a mix of all different types of people.
Just to kind of wrap up, I think we talked about where, what's great about living here and the waterfront and all that kind of stuff. But advice you would give for somebody who's looking to potentially move to Sausalito, what should they know? Good, bad, indifferent, wrapped up in a couple sentences.
I guess it depends. If someone's working from home, of course, ideal. If they're working in San Francisco, also pretty ideal because it's super close and you don't hit the traffic. It's just it's just a wonderful place to live. I think people are generally very friendly, laid back atmosphere. And what else? I love the restaurants here too. So we've got a big selection of restaurants, so you don't have to really go anywhere else too.
Is there anything, if you could have your druthers in a perfect world, is there any, or you love it just the way it is?
Yeah, I think, Sausalito's not this, it's picturesque and everything, but it's not this perfect sterile place either. So I like the idea that it has some imperfections to it. There's, the crime rate super low, I guess the school.
Yeah, there's not a huge amount of school choices in the direct area here.
And I guess it goes together. So there aren't a lot of kids, therefore there aren't a lot of schools. So it's the chicken or the egg mentality. So
exactly.
If you had more kids, then there'd be a school or more school options. But I think it's kind of the only thing really.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a pretty idyllic place. I would have to agree.
Totally is. Yeah, it's like a dream.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're glad that, from San Francisco, Ying can visit here very easily. And it's great because, I live in San Anselmo. So we kind of meet in the middle here.
Right in the middle.
Do some paddling and, that commute across the bridge and through Sausalito every day. It's, it's a lot of driving that I do, but I couldn't imagine a better
place to go to.
Watching the fog come over the hill and then the bridge becomes apparent. And I mean,
it's just so amazing.
It is. It's great.
It's funny at first when I was living in the city before. And so I was used to the fog, but then I came over here and it's sunny. And then I used to despise the fog a little bit. Now I love it. My kids, both of them said, I don't know if I could live anywhere else because I just love seeing the fog roll in. So
it's great to see it. And then if you want to drive through it, you can, or you can just look at it from afar.
Yeah.
Looking at it is better
and feel the cool breeze from it, but that's it.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the best of those words.
Well, thank you, Chris, so much for joining us for this conversation about Sausalito.
You're very welcome.
It's great to reconnect with you after so many years.
Yeah, I know, it's nice.
And yeah, I think we learned a little bit more, and now we have some more places that we need to go eat and explore.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right.
You're welcome.
Catch you on the next one.
Thank you.